Alright, so today is the day that I'm going to start getting some wheels on this thing. So you can see we've had this off. Had time the other week to paint my rims and hubs. So everything's kind of ready to go back on. So looking at your front hub here, the only thing I didn't take out was these inner races here. So you got an inner race there, and there's also an inner race there. You've got a bearing. I got a new one here that goes in this backside, and then we've got this cup goes in there, and then there are two felt washers. This is one of the old ones. I have new ones that go in. And then that whole assembly can go on the shaft on your outside. So for this bearing, it's a little bit smaller bearing. And then on the end of the shaft, you have this piece, kind of like a lock nut. Interesting piece. This was one of the pieces that I wouldn't expect to be broken, but on mine was. So I got this one from a salvage yard. And then your outer piece on the outside does take a gasket around here. Just note, I mean, I did paint most of this yellow because this piece does not cover all of this surface. So if you are, preparing it for paint like I am, you don't want to leave that entire thing bare. Or you can just paint it with it all together afterwards, but up to you. So yeah, we'll get both of these on there. Alright, so I got one mostly on. Here comes a little bit of a rant. Those felt washers on the back side, I had to trim them down. I just didn't see any way possible that you could get them both in the hub and over the shaft, because there's a step. Well, you can see it on this side, is you slide them on and then they go on this step here, and they just weren't even close. I should say, if I just put the felt washer on, it fits nicely over this one, but in order to get it in the hub, you really had to jam it in there. I think up until this point, I've been trying not to say names of who I got parts from. I may do that at the end, but because at this point, I'm not really advertising for anyone. But I think these were like a multi-use for different tractors on their website, and I think one size fits all doesn't always fit all in the as received condition, and I think that was the case. So I mean, I even took those and put them up against the old one, and the outer diameter was just bigger. I mean, well over 1/4 of an inch. So I had to trim them down. I'll see if it gives me any problems. If it does, I'll order some from a different site where they're hopefully not advertised as, used on other tractors. So one thing to note, the manual says to tighten this nut until it's tight and then back it off like one slot for the cotter pin that goes through here, because otherwise it'll be real tight. But you can see with it backed off a little bit, it's nice and loose. So get this cleaned up, get the cap on, and get on to the other side. Alright folks, well, today was a great day. Finally got this thing rolling under its own power. You can see I got all the wheels on now. The back wheels were kind of interesting to put on, simply because of kind of a quirk or issue I ran into, but I had to run through that, and most of you guys can look at this and see. I slipped the hub on first, this outer hub here, and I just kind of set that on the shaft to put a rag under it. I forgot to paint these clamps on both sides, so I got in a rush to paint the other day, and So I'll have to take those off and paint them at some point. But anyway, so with that hub sitting on, then I put on this wedge piece, slid that on. I got it pretty far out right now, so that if I keep these wheels on when I go to paint it, I got as much room as I can on the inside. But I might move them in the end so it fits on like a 7-foot trailer like people talk about. So yeah, with that on, I bolted up this outer hub to the back side, and then I put these clamps on. I went to use some of the old lock washers and they actually split on me, so I had to put new ones on. So something else I'll have to touch up and paint later. Yeah, I guess it's just experience. Even then, getting the rim on in the end, I kind of got it scratched up, which kind of stinks because it's powder coat and it's not as good to just touch up. But it's a little dirty now. But the issue I ran into was I got this wheel on and I was spinning everything to make sure it was running true, and this wheel here had like a 3/4 of an inch wobble as it went around. Well, skipping the details, I don't know if some of you saw my post on Facebook. This hub is warped a little bit. And it's this actual cast hub that has the warp. I got the wheel to run straight and true. How I did that, and I have to adjust it later, is you can see like these brackets are seated real nicely. That one is not. So I'm probably going to stick something under here to get it. Or actually it is seated there. So it may be okay just like that. But with that one out, the wheel runs perfectly true. Versus, like I said, it was 3/4 of an inch moving in and out as it went along. You'll definitely feel that going down the road, and I understand most people wouldn't see it, but just kind of my personality, it would mess with me a little bit. So yeah, I got those on. Rigged up a gas tank. A little one. Been working okay. You can see I got water dripping here. I keep filling the radiator. It's so full of holes it acts like a mister fan when I have it running, but I don't run it too long. I just wanted to take it for a drive. Got the steering shaft in. Got that adjusted. I'm gonna put some more grease in here. It seems like at the outer extremes it binds just a little bit, and at least I noticed that when I had it jacked up and was turning the steering wheel. But it seems to be okay now that I'm actually driving it, so I'll test that out again later. One thing I noticed too is it didn't have the bushing in here. Is this can just move around in there, so I gotta get a bushing for that. Your steering wheel, just a nut on the end. I think they had some extra pieces here. I didn't see this big washer and such in the manual, but I'm gonna take another look at that and make it right. So yeah, she's doing well. Needs a little tuning, so I'll get that carburetor adjusted a little bit later. But I guess next I'll show you guys a clip of me driving it. And got someone to help me, another pretty well-known restorer around here. He's going to help me with the hood patch, and then I'm kind of missing a chunk out of the hole, and he'll help me weld in the grill screens too. But my next focus really is getting a paint booth up and taking this back apart and getting it painted. And the only real thing to fix yet is the radiator, and I hear those are kind of a doozy in order to get these old bolts out. So that's going to be fun. Somebody told me about CRC freeze off rather than using heat. I might give that a shot in order to shrink the bolt. But yeah, so I'll keep you guys posted on whatever happens with that. But signing off for today. Like I said, I'll give you a preview of it driving, and not sure when my next video will be because I don't know, been kind of busy. Hopefully go on vacation somewhere at some point and don't know where. We just finished first cutting hay, so that's why I've been kind of delayed in getting some of these videos out recently. So first cutting was a little short and thin this year, sadly, but we'll make it through. So, all right, have a good day, guys.